Welcome to the Common Man Football Show. My name is James Coburn, and today's episode, we're talking about the Los Angeles Chargers versus Jacksonville Jaguars Week 10 matchup based on analytics. Each week, I collect all of the current 2017 NFL team data in order to analyze and project potential NFL performance. And since it's a weekly collection, there will always be some variation in terms of injuries that happen and other sort of factors that could affect games. However, I will always give little nuggets of truth that could become bigger nuggets of truth as the season continues. So stick around as I analyze each week's matchups based on analytics. And if you're new to the channel, all terms and definitions will be in the description. So, starting with this matchup between the Los Angeles Chargers, sorry, and Jacksonville Jaguars. So when you look at the NFL stat basic comparison data, and basic comparison data deals with how the offense is doing, how the defense is doing, and how the special teams is doing. And based on that data, the Jaguars are heavily favored in this game on offense and on defense. So let's get to it. So some of the areas where actually the big area where the Jacksonville Jaguars are favored on offense is offensive score percentage. The Jaguars their offense is just able to put more points on the board. I mean, there's no other way around it. They don't have an amazing offense, but they do have an above average offense when it comes to being able to put points on the board. Surprisingly, the Chargers are better in terms of turnover ratio. The Chargers are also better in terms of preventing sacks on offense, but they have not been able to put points on offense. They've had lots of issues in terms of offensive score percentage. So basically the ability to put points on the board on every single offensive drive, that hasn't been the Chargers' bag this year. So ultimately, that's why even though the Chargers are better in terms of turnover ratio and sack percentage, because the Chargers aren't really able to put points on the board, which is really what matters to winning, the ability to put points on the board, that's why the Jaguars are heavily favored on offense for the most part, is because of how low the offensive score percentage is for the Chargers. Now, when you get to the defensive side of the football, the Chargers are also favored in terms of defensive offensive score percentage. The Jaguars are pretty decent at preventing teams from putting points on the board. Jaguars are also better in terms of turnovers, creating turnovers on defense. Jaguars are, of course, really good at creating sacks and interceptions. Pretty much the Jaguars are the best defense in the NFL. I mean, there's no way around it. Really good in terms of preventing points. Really good in terms of turnovers, really good in terms of sacks. So ultimately, there's not a lot of leeway for the Chargers here. And the Chargers are also a team that defensively allows a lot of points as well. So despite the Chargers having a fairly strong sack percentage on defense, just not amazing in every other factor. So kind of a one-trick pony is how I would describe the Chargers. Then, of course, you get the special teams data. So when you look at special teams, punt return yardage, kick return yardage, all that kind of stuff, the Jaguars are favored in terms of punt return yardage. The Jaguars are also favored in terms of kick return yardage. Defensive punt return yardage is more so with the Chargers. Defensive kick return yardage is more so with the Jaguars. Field goal percentage is with the Jaguars. And extra point percentage is more so with the Chargers. And then punting average is with the Chargers as well. So overall, special teams is kind of a mixed bag between both these teams. I would give somewhat of an advantage to the Jaguars because of that field goal percentage. It is higher than the Chargers. The Chargers have the worst field goal percentage in the NFL and since 1998. That's how bad their field goal percentage is. So the Jaguars will have somewhat of an advantage from that perspective, and that's kind of why I think the Jaguars have the edge when it comes to special teams. But overall, most of the data does favor the Jaguars. And that's the basic thing. Whether it's offense, mainly the ability to put points on the board, defense in terms of every single major category, the Jaguars are just better. All those factors kind of line up for why the Jaguars are really, really favored in this game from this kind of perspective. Now, when you get to some other sort of matchups, so looking at things like completion percentage data, for example, different down and distance data, when you look at the Jaguars offense versus Chargers defense, the Jaguars are favored here to a certain extent in terms of first down situations and third down situations. Then, of course, you look at the Chargers offense versus Jaguars defense. Jaguars are favored here in terms of first, second, and third down situation. So the Jaguars have a pretty sizable advantage over the Chargers offense in terms of preventing completions. And, of course, you look at rushing downs. Basically, the ability to put to get first downs with the run in various situations. And the Jaguars are favored here on second and third down, and a bit of a tie on first down. Then, of course, you get to rushing downs for the Chargers offense versus Jaguars defense. This is the area that is honestly kind of a tie in this respect, because third down's pretty close between the Chargers and the Jaguars. The Jaguars defense definitely has an advantage on first down, but the Jaguars have one of the worst second down rushing defenses in the NFL. So I would kind of say this is a bit of a toss-up. I think the Jaguars will have success, most of the success, because most downs are first down in the NFL, statistically speaking. And that's the area where the Jaguars do the best. So from that perspective, I would say there's that. But I do think that the Jaguars defense does have some issues in terms of preventing first downs from happening in second down situations. So that's definitely the main area I would kind of pay attention to. And, of course, when you get to passing downs, Jaguars offense versus Chargers defense. In this respect, the Jaguars are favored here on first and third down. The Chargers will have most of their success on second down, but I just don't think it'll be enough because of what everything overall looks like. Then, of course, you look at the Chargers offense versus Jaguars defense in terms of passing, and the Jaguars are favored here on first, second, and third down. So I think the Jaguars defense, again, is just the best defense in the NFL and very good against the pass. Then, of course, you get to sack rate. Jaguars offense versus Chargers defense. In this respect, the Jaguars are favored here. But this is a really interesting matchup. The Chargers have been very good in terms of sacks. Melvin Ingram and Joey Bosa have been very impressive in terms of pressures and sacks. And I think this is a good test for the Jaguars offense. So this is definitely a game I really want to see what happens, just because the Jaguars have been pretty decent at preventing sacks, and the Chargers have been pretty good at getting sacks. And I always like to watch matchups like this to see what happens. Then, of course, you look at the sack rate for the Chargers offense versus Jaguars defense. And as you can clearly see, Jaguars all the way first, second, and third down in that respect. The Jaguars have the best ability to put up sacks on first down and second down. So basically, first, they are the best in terms of creating sacks on first and second down for the Jaguars. Then, of course, you get to interception ratio, Jaguars offense versus Chargers defense. In this respect, the Jaguars are favored here. Most of the picks, interceptions that Bortles throws come in second and third down situations, but the Chargers just don't really get that many turnovers in general. So that's basically the main points here. Then, of course, you get to the Chargers offense versus Jaguars defense, and the Jaguars are favored here on second and third down. And one little tidbit, the Chargers have the worst third down offense in terms of throwing picks on third down in the NFL currently. So that's not something you want to bring to town against the Jaguars defense. So yeah, definitely not that amazing. So general thoughts and feelings on this game. I think it's a Jaguars victory. There's always going to be doubters about the Jaguars, as myself. I mean, if you watch any of my videos from earlier in the year, I was a little bit skeptical of them early on. They had lots of really good indicators, and that's kind of the point of data, is you see a team that does really well, and then the next week they continue the trend, and then they continue the trend, and that's been the Jaguars. From the first 4 weeks of the season, the Jaguars have been very good in terms of their defense, in terms of turnovers, preventing points, getting sacks, all that stuff. And their offense has been pretty decent at preventing sacks and preventing turnovers as best they can. And scoring on offense above average, like above average offense. I mean, that's what you want. I mean, it's not amazing. I mean, it's not like the best offense in the NFL, but it's above average. So, again, from that perspective, I just think the Jaguars just have the better overall team, better defense, better offense. Special teams is obviously a little bit of a toss-up, but ultimately I just think Jaguars victory. And, of course, my name is James Coburn. You can find my other work at draftcoburn.wordpress.com. You can also follow me on Twitter at Geometrics. And if you like this content and you want more content like this, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Share this video as well with anybody that you know, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Peace.